Okay, here we go. I just did a whole radio segment and I didn't have the volume turned up. We've all done it. I've just been told by my producer over the other side of a studio. I wondered why I couldn't hear my voice properly. Okay, let's start again. Thank you for joining, listening live with, Lisa's listening. I've just changed the name of my show. I've got to get used to it myself. So I'm joined today by 3 amazing guests in the studio, and I'm really looking forward to introducing them all to you shortly. But before we kick off, I'm going to play one of my favourite songs, Zippity Doodah. Right, we started off with a bit of Zippity Doodah. I have been asked to let our listeners know, wherever you are, whether you're in Perth, Western Australia, or anywhere else in the world, we have a competition on. And you can win tickets to see the Great Moscow Circus. Actually, having said that, you probably need to be in Perth, I'm guessing, to enter. So this is going to be drawn on Thursday the 4th on That's Entertainment Show with Brenton and Co. between 12 and 3 p.m. And this is what you need to do. You need to enter the email and answer this question. So the email is iplradio.org.au. And if you've missed that, just go to our website and send us a message and let us know, and we can give you the info. And it's around Happy Days. Wow, certainly showing my age now because I remember that show well. So in season 2, episode 33, have you got that? Get a pen and paper out. Season 2, episode 33 of Happy Days. Richie Cunningham tried to get a photo of a popular TV clown with no makeup. What was the clown's name? And what was the name of the actor playing him? There you go. I don't remember that one. Anyway, that is the Great Moscow Circus you can win tickets to. So we're just going to go to a quick ad break and then I'm going to play my first guest's favourite song. And that was Superman, It's Not Easy. And I'm just going to let my producer know that the little green lights are going up and down. So I think we're all good. Have I got a thumbs up from the other side of the room? Yes. Fantastic. So Superman, It's Not Easy. Graham from Backboards, when I asked you what your favourite song was, that's what you told me. Tell me why that's your favourite song.
It's basically because a lot of people say that we can't feel what we're meant to feel. So that song's basically about pushing down all your feelings to release them back up again.
Okay, I'm actually having some trouble hearing you. I think we might have a technical issue here. So we're going to play another song and we're going to sort that technical issue out. And I'm going to play another one of my favourite songs called You'll Never Walk Alone. Okay, we have got some technical issues, but hey, we're able to we're able to get around this. So Graham, let's go back to Superman, It's Not Easy. Why is that your favourite song?
Basically, society tells us that we're not to feel. So basically, we push all our feelings down, but we need to let them up so we can move forward in life.
Yeah, so that's what resonates to you with that song. So you have created this amazing product, and I have seen it, and I just loved your story so much as to the reason why you created it. So let's start by maybe telling us what it is that let's start when you actually went into business for Backboards. Was it a year ago, 3 years ago? How long?
I had the idea about 3 years ago, but I'd say last year, just over a year ago.
Okay, and when I asked you to come on the radio today and I asked you what was not okay, this is what you said. You said that it was not okay to stand by and watch when you can see someone being bullied and manipulated. And it just seems to me that there is so much of this going on. I don't know whether you saw the interview with Maggie Chibano a couple of weeks ago, and she's speaking about an app that she's actually created called You Choose because of the bullying and the manipulation going on. Now, I'm guessing, looking at you, I'm not sure of your exact age, but the era that you were brought up in is probably a little different to what's going on these days with cyberbullying. So would I be correct in saying that it wasn't bullying on the telephone, it was more so outright bullying?
Yeah, in the workplace.
The normal place, yeah, which so many people have been through. One of the things that Maggie brought up was that, with the bullying that goes on these days, is that there is no reprieve, because if people are being bullied or the kids are being bullied, then they come home and it continues on these devices. In your particular instance, did you have a break when you got home from the bullying that was going on? No, so it was constant.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how difficult that would have been. So with the backboards that you've created, what was the first little seed of an idea that came to you?
Basically, I couldn't swim and I was drowning mentally in my own thoughts. So that's where the idea was born.
So the analogy of drowning in your own thoughts, and so this is a business that you've created. Has it empowered you in some way as well?
It has, yes, to be my own hero.
To be your own hero, and that is your and that's your tagline as well, isn't it? So what ages are these boards suitable for? And just in case anybody's not sure, even that they're called bat boards, but they're basically when you're going out and you're looking to buy a little, I guess I would know it as a surfboard. Yeah, and the design is quite different. I should have asked you to bring one in today, actually. But the design is quite different to a normal board, isn't it? Can you just describe how it is designed?
Basically, the board is designed as a bat. Basically, like the bat represents my world getting turned upside down, and then just having a new perspective on it.
Ah, that's interesting. Do you know, I did not know that, because I just thought, being a bat, that it was like Batman.
No, it's not to do with Batman.
Ah, but it's like a bat hangs upside down.
Yeah, so basically my world got turned upside down, and then I seen life from a new perspective.
And what colours do they come in?
Green and pink at the minute, but I hope to get more. Like, I want to go to rainbow colours.
Fantastic. And where can people actually buy these backboards from?
At the minute online through my Instagram page, but I hope to get them out into other places shortly.
Okay, wonderful. All right, we'll have to come back and get you to share more details about where people can buy these backboards from. Now, I haven't introduced you to Katie yet, but Katie's business is EFT, and she deals with a lot of emotional issues. So I would love to know if you had any thoughts on what Graham has invented, Katie.
Wow, I think it sounds fantastic, just quietly. And I loved the fact that he mentioned with his favourite song of the emotions being pushed down.
Yep.
Because they are going to come back up in some way, shape or form. So having any tools to be able to support one's emotional state, and it sounds like Nigel's story.
No, this is Graham.
Graham, sorry.
That's right, you've only met one another today.
I'm sorry, Graham. that his world got turned upside down, and as a result of that, he was able to create something that was going to support him and potentially many, many other people. Yeah. I'm trying to visualise what the actual board looks like.
There's one in my car. I'll show you after.
Yeah. So is it for
just kids learning to swim?
Yeah. Which is beautiful, because when people feel safe, no matter what they're trying to do, they having something that's going to support their learning.
Basically for the kids to be their own hero in the water.
Yeah.
To empower them.
Beautiful.
Are there a lot of adults that can't swim?
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, and it's more unusual. Were you brought up in Australia? Because you've got an Irish accent.
I was brought up in Ireland.
Yeah, okay. So how old were you when you came over here?
I was 28.
Ah, okay. So is that not a standard thing for kids to learn to swim in Ireland?
Not really, no.
No.
I've tried when I was a kid, but every time the instructor wasn't looking, I used to run across the pool.
So I think, Katie, were you brought up in Australia?
Yes.
Yeah.
And swimming is very much part of the moment you can walk, you're swimming.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But I can understand if you're not in that environment.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does make perfect sense. And I guess it's like a lot of things when you're brought up, you just take things for granted, don't you, that it is the way it is. And I know that I've seen a lot of people from the Asian countries at the swimming pools learning how to swim. but it's never occurred to me before that, you know, there's as many adults as what there probably is.
Yeah.
So do you have a backboard for adults as well, or is it really just towards kids?
At the minute, it's just kids, but
Yep.
I'm sure adults can use them as well.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Right. Well, let's go to another song and then we'll come back and we'll learn more about Katie. I'm going to play Superman again. It's not easy. Welcome back to IPL Radio. You're on air with Lisa's Listening, and I'm joined today by 3 special guests. Just going to play another song, and then when we come back, we're going to meet Katie Walker from Katie Walker EFT. Looking forward to chatting with her soon. Welcome back to IPL Radio. Thank you for joining us today. I'm joined in the studio by 3 special guests, and the one that I'm going to be speaking to next is Katie Walker from Katie Walker EFT, and we're going to be talking about tapping, and it's so timely because I'm having a bit of a stressful day. Actually, I'm having a bit of a stressful 2 days, if I'm totally honest about it. And Katie just said, well, would you like some tapping? So it's almost like it's totally perfect. But before we even go into that, let's talk about what's not okay. Katie, when I asked you that, you said it's not okay for businesses to assume that employees can leave their emotions at the door. An employer needs to see the full human body, mind and spirit and support individuals. Wow, that's such a big one, isn't it? It's absolutely huge. And this is what you've based your whole business on.
Well, yes, and it's big and bold. And, you know, in terms of what we were just talking about while that song was playing and the ad was going, if you were expected to go, I've had a couple of really tough days, and you come into the office or into this environment and you're trying to stay calm and do what you need to do, that can be really unrealistic because your system is telling you otherwise. And so I feel that if employers took into consideration what happens throughout one's life, from the moment or throughout their life, but also from the moment someone wakes up to the end of the day, stuff happens, stuff that we can't control. And sometimes our little nervous systems can't control what's going on. So being mindful of how that does impact someone showing up, being present, being able to do what they need to do can be really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're honestly looking like you've got it all going on. But when someone asked the question, how are you? You were very honest and you said, I'm feeling frustrated. Because
did I say frustrated or stressed?
You said frustrated, I think was the word. But the thing is, frustration can show up as stress or nervous or anxious. You know, the system's still doing something. And to have the understanding from someone else to say, how can we help you in this moment?
Because I'm human, hey. And things are not really going to plan at the moment.
No.
Some of the mics aren't working, and
it's technology.
And I'm trying to learn, you know, how to drive this radio show, and
Totally.
And I like it when things work because it makes life so much less stressful. So for anyone else out there that is listening that is having a stressful day, I know exactly how you are feeling. But hey, we just get on with it, don't we? Because we need to. But Katie's got an amazing technique that she's going to take us through. But before we do that, let's just learn about who is Katie Walker and how she ended up doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
So Katie's married and she's got 3 children. She's got a daughter and 2 stepsons and a fur baby. Tell us about your family.
I was going to tell you about my fur baby, actually.
Why is it that everyone does that?
I don't know. No, I do have a beautiful family. So I've been married for only 2.5 years, but with my partner for 14. We have a beautiful 11-year-old and I have 2 stepsons, my husband's boys. And, you know, in terms of what, not Nigel, Graham was talking about earlier, working with kids, when we can allow for our children from the get-go to understand what's happening as they're growing and maturing to their little internals and their nervous systems, because my daughter's actually going through bullying herself at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so it's really tough. And what is happening for me is that I'm noticing how it's showing up from my own old wounds of being bullied.
It's triggering you. Oh,
Yeah. So
jeez.
fortunately I have the knowledge to understand what's going on internally, and I have the tools and the techniques to work through what's going on for me, so I can then try and hold the space for my daughter. But here's the thing, if a mature adult's going into a workplace with old wounds and someone's in that workplace that reminds them of someone from their past, stuff happens and they are then triggered, and then they do respond in ways that they probably don't want to, but their nervous system is doing what it needs to do, or is showing up to take them into some sort of survival mode, and then they're not showing up as they really want to.
How old is your daughter?
She's 11.
And has this been going on for long that you are aware of?
She's not enjoyed her whole primary school.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's really tough. It's really tough.
That is really, really tough. And, one of the things that, for me personally, and I know, Graham has shared how difficult it was for him growing up. For me personally, I'm so grateful that I didn't have to go through that as a child. However, I have been through it as an adult. So I know what that, so I've got a sense of what it feels like as an adult. And I didn't even cope from that experience as an adult. So I can't even imagine how a child gets through that.
Absolutely, because children, their higher brain is still developing, and so they're feeling everything in their little bodies. And the other day, as an example, my daughter experienced something and she came home, and the intensity that she was feeling it in her body, she just didn't know how to cope. And I just had to hold that space for her. I tried to do tapping with her. I was throwing oils at her. I do doTERRA essential oils. I was doing my own grounding and my own practice to try to regulate myself, so again I could hold that space for her. But it was really tough because little ones don't know. They've got these big emotions going on, and we're expecting them to go, stop it, stop feeling that way, and they can't. They need to know how to do that.
And you were there when she got home. Mm-hmm. A lot of kids don't have that. They don't have that support. And I know, we're going to be learning a lot more about our next guest in a little while. And perhaps some people just aren't as fortunate to have somebody when they get home either.
Absolutely.
Which can make it really, really hard.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I actually did answer your question about what I do, but
no, that's fine. When I asked you what you loved most about what you do, you said you love seeing an individual going from feeling hopeless to hopeful, and you see tangible changes in your clients, which brings you so much joy because you know that you're supporting positive change. So what put you on this path, you said, was that at the age of 25, you would have rather have died than having done public speaking.
I know that sounds really extreme, but it was true.
And that's what a lot of people say about public speaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So why did you need to go and do public speaking anyway? Because it said here, fast forward to 7 years ago, and you got formally trained.
Yeah, so when I was in my mid-20s, I accepted a role, and in the interview process, obviously a little nervous, and the part of the brain that was needed to be online hearing what was going on wasn't. And a big part of that role was actually getting up and speaking in front of groups of people, a lot of people. And the first time my supervisor said, let's go and present, because I was working in this TAFE system and helping graduates build their employability skills. So we had to go and help them develop those, because some of them had no idea about going into the workforce.
Yep.
And long story short, I assumed she was going to be presenting, and that was actually my job. And I'm like, well, that's just not going to happen. I'm going to have to quit my job. And she said that.
Oh, that's extreme.
Extreme.
Yeah.
It was so fearful. I was so fearful. And even having, although I've got a small family, we still, at family gatherings, I'd still get very nervous if I was going to try and tell a joke, or if I was going to tell a story in front of my own family. I was nervous. And so my mentor at the time said, we need to sort this out, because this is going to be ongoing. You're going to stop yourself from doing things that you really want to do, et cetera, et cetera. She sent me to a lady who taught tapping. And at the time, I thought it was just for public speaking and for anxiety around doing that. And so it was fantastic, because I was then able to stay and keep my job. And then 7 years ago, I got formally trained in clinical emotional freedom techniques, EFT tapping, and learnt that it wasn't just for public speaking. It's for fears and phobias, core beliefs, aches and pains. It's really we're working on the underlying emotional contributing factors that keep us stuck.
So is it literally tapping? Because when you say tapping, I kind of, you tap on a desk
tap,
or,
Yes.
don't know whether anyone can hear that, but,
Yeah.
it is literally tapping. And I did share with you previously that the very first time that I'd ever even seen that term was I was in Bali a number of years ago, and I used to walk past near this yoga centre, and there was a sign up that said, I think it might have said EFT tapping emotional freedom technique. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what I've got in my mind, and I was intrigued by it. So when you came into my life fairly recently and I realised that you did it, I thought, okay.
Yes.
So I still don't know too much about it, but you're going to take us through an exercise. Is that
I
correct?
will, absolutely.
All right, that would be wonderful. So what we might do is play a Pink song in your honour. You said just any Pink song, so I've chosen one of my favourites, which is very relevant actually, given the fact that you've just been talking about your daughter, and it's called Cover Me in Sunshine. When we come back, Katie will be taking us back through a tapping technique. Just played an advertisement for Perth Babies and Children's Expo, which was on previously. So if you got down there, you would have seen Jess and Triss, and they had a fantastic time down there. So I'm joined by 3 guests in the studio today, and we've just come back to talk to Katie Walker from EFT, Katie Walker EFT. And EFT stands for?
Emotional Freedom Techniques, plural.
Emotional freedom techniques, and they were teasing me on the ad. Well, Graham was. Sorry, Nigel was. I'm getting their names mixed up now.
I'm confused.
So just keep in mind there that you've got the mic there, so you'll need to, if you want to be heard, you need to be right in front of it with that particular mic. We've been swapping mics and headsets around the studio. So, Katie, tell us, for anyone at home, can they join in as well?
Absolutely. So firstly, I'm going to ask everyone just to feel their feet on the floor.
Yep.
Just bring your awareness to your feet. And if you're sitting down, feel the chair and the weight of your body in the chair. So just firstly bringing your awareness or attention to being in the environment, and then noticing if there is some sort of constriction or contraction or body sensation that we're feeling. So for you, Lisa, given that you've had some frustrations with technical difficulties, which you can't control, you might notice that you're feeling a little bit heightened, maybe something in your chest or your stomach or somewhere in your middle section.
Or maybe I just don't feel anything. Maybe it's just everywhere.
Maybe it is everywhere. And sometimes if we don't feel anything, it could be because we have a couple of ways of managing situations, and we either go into a flight or fight situation where we're going to stay and fight or we're going to flee, or if we can't do either of those, we go into shutdown. And sometimes if we're not in a position to do either of those, we just automatically go into shutdown for self-preservation and survival.
Interesting.
So that could be what's going on for you. If you've had 2 days of it, you're like, I can't fight, I can't flee, I'm just going to shut down and I'm going to preserve myself. So with EFT, what we're actually doing is tapping on meridian points or acupressure points, where if people have heard of acupuncture, normally that's Chinese medicine that's been around for 3,000 years, but acupressure points are what we're tapping on rather than putting needles into those points. And so I'm not going to take you through the full recipe or how we would normally do it, but one way we can use the tapping at the moment is by, as I just said, feel your feet, feel your body in the chair, and then we're just going to start at the top of our head whilst tuning into the feeling. So you can take 2 fingers or 3 fingers. So I'll get Nigel and Graham and Lisa to do the same thing. And you're applying, so you can actually feel the tapping. It's not too soft that you're like, I can't feel anything, but you're not then going to bruise yourself. So we start at the top of the head. And to find that for anyone that's listening is to trace, if they put their thumbs on the top of their ears and then they trace it down to their middle finger, basically that's, I can't find my ears because the headset's
in the way, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the top point, the top of the head. And then we go to the start of the eyebrow. So you can do it either side. So the start of the eyebrow, just in the inside. Yep. Perfect.
Have you done this before, Nigel or Graham?
Yeah, but a long time ago.
Okay.
Yep. And again, we're just noticing the feeling in our body, and we're tapping. And we might just take a breath however we receive it. And then we go to the side of the eye. So that's essentially not in the eye, it's on the bony part of the side of the eye.
Yep.
If you're wearing glasses, you can come down just a little bit because we're sending a calming signal anyway. We're sending a pulsation to the actual acupressure point. Then we go underneath the eye. I'm going to change because the mouthpiece is just there. So underneath the eye, so it's a centimetre.
We do look strange, the 5 of us in a room all tapping our faces.
So a centimetre underneath the eye on the bony part. So if I lift my glasses, it's just, yep. I'm just making sure the boys have it correctly. Yep.
Katie's just checking in on us.
Yeah, checking in. And then the next point's underneath the nose.
Yep. You reckon there's people at home with a coffee cup in one hand and tapping their face on the
Oh,
other?
no. And then underneath the mouth, and it's around, you don't have to count the times that you tap, but up, anywhere from 8 to 10 times.
Yep.
And then the next point is what we call the collarbone. And so you follow the clavicles to where the nodules are that stick out. You might put a bow tie there for a man if you wear bow ties these days. And then you come down about an inch to the indents.
Yep.
And you can use 2 hands and you tap again, or you can use one hand. I use the middle finger and the thumb on one hand, and I just cover both points like a Tarzan whack or tap. And then the last point is just underneath the arm. For if women wear a bra, it's on the bra line. For men, it's a hand width.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's those points that we tap on, and there's variations that we can use depending on what someone is showing up with. So, for example, you're feeling frustrated, you're already in it, you're dysregulated, so we can just tap to calm because we're sending a calming signal to the amygdala, and it's the amygdala, which is that control center of the body going, am I going to fight? Am I going to flee? If I can't do either of those, then we go to that next part of I'm going to just shut down because I can't do either of those. So when we can actually regulate and calm the nervous system, you'll find sometimes that technology just sorts itself out because, again, I'm a proponent of energy. We're energy. So when we're calm and our energy is flowing as it should, things just kind of happen.
Oh, so you think I had power over that not working?
I'm just going to say, I do have an example of when I was on a podcast and I was with my work wife and the woman that was doing the podcast with us. She was having major issues with getting everything sorted. It was via Zoom recording. And so Jules and I just said, let's just tap with you. And she was a tapper, the lady that was interviewing us.
Yeah.
So we spent a bit of time tapping with her. And the next thing, I kid you not, everything worked.
Everything worked. Yeah.
Everything worked because she was calm. And so it's just like, yeah.
So for anyone out there that hasn't perhaps thought about that or understand the concept, what do you mean by energy? Like, what does that mean?
Well, in terms of, my belief is that we are all energy, and externally, internally, and there is the flow of energy through us. And what happens is if there is a disruption in our energy field and what the flow of energy through us, that's what can show up when we are in situations where a stressor comes in or a trigger comes in, that disruption is impacted, and then it shows up in that form of feeling those big feelings, yeah? And so then we just go, what do I do? And that's where behaviours that we don't particularly like come out. We might go and drink, we might go smoke, we might go have drugs, whatever, just to numb that feeling. So when we can calm and correct that disruption, so it's a beautiful flow through our system, also our nervous system, then things just, it's how it should be, just in terms of homeostasis and the equilibrium of our body, because we do need to have a little, the ebbs and flows of our body to be able to get up in the morning and to take action if we're going into an action oriented, like playing sport, and then we need to go into that rest and digest when we're going at the end of the night, when we're going into sleep. So we need the ups and downs. But because of all the stress at the moment with locally, internationally, families to, all of the economy, everything that's feeding into COVID, all of that creates so much. And so we just need to have all the tools that we can use to be able to calm and bring ourselves back into a regulated state.
My sister and I were sharing with one another yesterday that we feel that we probably are not aware of how stressful it actually is and we were talking about our own experiences, but if we talk about generally, a lot of people probably don't understand how stressful it is when they go out now because the whole landscape has changed so much.
Oh my goodness.
It's just so very different. How did COVID affect your business personally?
Well, I'm going to say it was actually brilliant because I was trying to transition out of my corporate life for 3 years to be in full-time into EFT and doing what I love and what I'm passionate about. And so my hours were starting to be reduced, and then I just took that plunge because it was just so right. And I did exceptionally well in my first year of doing it full time and have continued on because people have needed it. Stress levels have gone through the roof. And when our bodies are in a dysregulated state, our nervous system And our autonomic nervous system impacts so many other of our internal systems, one being our immune system. And so if we're trying to keep healthy and yet our nervous systems are spiked because of everything we're seeing and we're hearing, and it's like fear, 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 fear. That's all I'll say about the whole COVID thing. You know, that's impactful on how our immune system then responds.
How did you personally cope? Because you shared with me earlier that people chose not to see you during the height of COVID.
Yes.
So did you find that you're, maybe just take us through that journey a little bit more and tell us how your tapping may have helped?
Yeah, so I certainly have, because I am not vaccinated, and I had people say, I don't want to be around you at this time. And so I respected that. I didn't have any issues, but I did find the isolation was quite full on.
Yes. Yeah.
Which a lot of people experience. So I, fortunately, I do tap every day. I tap for myself, but I also am tapping with my clients. So I'm getting benefit when I'm showing up for them. And I also used a lot of other things like essential oils and beautiful natural vitamins and stuff. But it got me through because I was able to calm myself down. So I then didn't start to tell this big old story about, feeding into maybe an old belief of mine, which was I'm not likable, and then people saying I don't want to see you, because I was staying in that calm state. I could see it for what it was, as opposed to what I might have used to be able to might have told myself historically, which was, well, there you go, Kate. There's another example of why people don't like you. You're getting rejected, So I was just able to go, that's their choice. I respect it.
Yeah.
We all have choices.
And from one unvaccinated person to another, it was a difficult time from a segregation perspective, I believe, as well. And I don't know how you feel, Katie, but I was actually really surprised that so many people did actually buy into segregating. So that was, a really hard time as well. So it's fantastic that you had the tapping, and probably you were able to help other people as well through that time, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And for my clients, because the presenting problem for a lot of them was I'm feeling more anxious, or I'm feeling more worried about either my business, my family, health, the future.
Yeah.
And so we're able to just deal with what's showing up for them right now, but then there are roots to where this stuff has come from as well. And so we just gently go back to where other stuff is held in the system, what that's related to, and I was able to help them through.
But on a positive note, the COVID blessing was that you're now doing what you love.
Full time, because I had been doing it for 3 years, kind of balancing corporate and trying to build my business. But there was a part of me that was resisting jumping all the way into it. So thank you, COVID.
Yes,
let me do it.
Fantastic. And have you got a similar story there, Graham?
Well, with COVID, the only thing I found hard is all the swim schools closed down, and then with me not being vaccinated, I wasn't, like, when they opened back up, I wasn't allowed to go into the building because I was unvaccinated.
So that made it difficult from a business perspective?
Yeah.
Yes. And is that different now?
Yeah, because I can go back in now.
Yeah, so your business has been able to do what it's supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
which is connecting with people and being able to sell your boards. Yeah. Did it give you an opportunity to be able to, were there any COVID blessings for you? Because if you, having gone through what you went through previously and based on what Katie's just shared, that possibly could have opened up some old wounds for you as well, being isolated?
Basically, prior to COVID, I sort of isolated myself in any way. So nothing really changed with that. But I basically looked after myself more, started doing me. I used to go into the water every morning at 6:30 with the Human Excellence Project.
Ah, fantastic. Is that still going?
Yeah, that's still going.
Yes, and that's how you met the amazing Michael Daisley, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yes, I wondered where the connection was there. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So the Human Excellence Project is a group of people that...
Jump in the ocean every morning at, I think it's 5 or 5:30 in Hillary's Harbour.
Yes. Are you still doing it now?
I haven't been in the water in a while.
Okay. It sounds amazing, and I can only imagine how invigorated one would feel when one did it.
Don't get me wrong, it is cold, but it empowers you for the rest of the day because you've overcome that challenge in the morning. The hardest thing is getting out of bed
Yes.
because it's so early.
Yeah, yeah.
And then obviously the cold water.
See, I don't have any trouble getting out of bed, so the hardest thing for me would be putting my toe in the water. What about you, Katie?
I take my hat off. I know a few friends who do it, and I just think, I love you for doing that. I'm not going to.
Amazing. All right, we're going to go to another song. I don't think we've had any Roy this morning. You got it, Roy Orbison. You got it, Roy Orbison. And we are back. I thought that song was going for a little bit longer. You're listening to Lisa's Listening. You're on IPL Radio, Inspiring Passionate Lives. Good afternoon to you if you're in Perth, Western Australia, or good evening if you're in other parts of the world. So I'm joined in the studio today by 3 guests. And we've just been talking to Katie Walker from EFT, and she's been taking us through a tapping process, which is quite amazing. And she's just going to share with us as to a special offer that she has for anyone that is listening today.
Sure. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you so much for having me.
You're
I love
welcome.
what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, big fan. So if anyone is interested in working one-on-one with me, I do a free consultation just to get to know me a little bit more, but more about me understanding their situation and whether I have the right expertise and whether EFT is exactly what they need in this moment. So if anyone is interested and wants to engage with one of my packages, I have a range of different packages. I'm offering 10% off for the next 48 hours from anyone that listens to this segment.
To IPL Radio,
IPL Radio.
So how do they contact you?
So they can contact me on my website, which is www.katiewalkereft.com, or they can send me an email at hello@katiewalkereft.com.
Okay, great. And Katie Walker is spelled I-E. So
I-E, K-A-T-I-E, yep.
Walker.com.
Yep. E-F-T.
Yep.
E for egg, F for Fred, T for Tom.
In the next 48 hours.
Yes.
And if you listen to the upload on YouTube later on, still reach out to Katie because I'm sure that she'll look after you. And
absolutely.
the fact that you can have an appointment in the first instance just to work out whether it's something that's going to work for you is fantastic as well. And you've had a lot of success with your clients. You're now doing this full time because you're so passionate about it.
Right.
It's changed your life and it has the potential to change other people's lives as well, which is fantastic.
And I think just that ripple effect, which is something that you said earlier, when as adults, if we can work with what is showing up for us, the impact on our children is huge. So I think when we can be regulated big human beings, we can do the same for our little ones.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
And Nigel, our next guest, is sitting there nodding. He's been very quiet up until now because he's got a microphone that he needs to. Yeah, there we go. You'll have to speak right. Right. You have to basically speak right into that microphone. I pinched his headset. I don't know. Yeah, you can ask him. But just before I introduce you to Nigel, Graham from Batboards is going to share a special offer that he has as well. Now, how do people contact you, Graham?
They can contact me on Batboards on Facebook or Batboards by Janko on Instagram. And my offer is one board for $40 or $2 for $70. And you just mentioned the name of the radio station.
IPL Radio, fantastic. So the Batboards are fantastic for kids to be their own superhero. And they come in different colours.
Just green and pink at the minute, but more to come.
Yeah, well, green and pink is fine. That's all somebody needs. And, if you were listening earlier, you would have heard the story of how Batboards actually eventuated. But if you didn't get to listen to that, then this will be uploaded onto YouTube in due course and you'll get to hear the story. So what I would like to do before I introduce you to our next guest is to play his favourite song. But just before we do that, we are going to play an advertisement.
Your voice, your community station. You are listening to IPL Radio.
What a beautiful song, and that one was dedicated, and I didn't even know it, to Katie's dad.
Oh, yes.
The Prayer, Andrea and Celine Dion. Nigel, let's talk about your business before we wrap up for today. Clean as Detailing. So how do people contact you first up?
Clean as www.cleanas spelled with a K.com.au.
And do you have a special offer for anybody that is listening today?
Yep, we can do 10, 15% discount for any listeners that mentions IPL.
Mentions IPL Radio, fantastic. And if you watch this video later on the YouTube when it's uploaded, reach out to Nigel, let him know that you heard his story, and I'm sure that he would love to have you as a new customer. So just before we wrap up today, Graham, is there any closing thoughts?
Not really, no.
No, thank you so much, Graham from Batboards, for joining us today.
Thanks, Lisa.
It's been fantastic hearing your story and how you've overcome adversity, and you're now your own business owner. So congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
just so well done, and I'm sure that will be inspiring to other people out there hearing your story. Katie, any words to wrap up?
Just thank you so much for the opportunity. I feel, synergistically connecting with both Graham and Nigel and you, Lisa, it's just been amazing because it's, our stories, there's been a crossover, and it's just been a delight and blessing to be around these two amazing men who have done wonderful things. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you're so welcome. I had somebody say to me yesterday, so you just kind of get random people in together and you don't match them. I said, nothing's really random, and all stories, all stories intertwine, and absolutely, whatever's supposed to be.
Totally.
And any final words for you, Nigel?
No, it was just great to be able to come in today and listen to the other people's stories and just get to meet them, and just a good experience. And
kudos to you for all the reasons that we've spoken about previously, but also you were having a really down day yesterday, and so many people would have just contacted me and said, look, I just can't do it tomorrow. But you didn't. You showed up. And I think in life, that's one of the big lessons that I've had, is showing up is 99% of it.
Yeah, just being true to your word, being man of your word. If you say you're going to be somewhere, be there and get it done. That's how it is.
And and you've provided so much value to us in the studio today, and to so many people out there listening, and for the people that are going to be listening to this recording later on. So thank you so much. Thank you for pushing through all the hard times and not being a statistic, and now being there for others. You are making a big difference in the world. All right, we're going to play Purple Rain, and then we will be having the yarn come on next. Thank you for listening, everyone, and look forward to seeing you next week, or knowing that you're there next week with special guests that we have then.